Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. Now, the West's ironclad sanctions are so effective that French ski resorts are now overrun with drunken Russian oligarchs, tossing blood-stained euros over the bar like confetti. And there it is, Putin's personal cheerleader, Olga Skabeeva, proudly declaring the West's cancellation of Russian culture has lost the battle. France, tell us, how's that principled stance against Russian aggression working out for you? Or did the fat stacks of Russian bank transfers somehow glue your officials' eyes shut? Because from here, it looks like sanctions end where champagne profits begin. While Ukrainians fight for their survival in the trenches, the same Russian elites funding the war are skiing down Mont Blanc laughing at Europe's hypocrisy. And let's not forget the Western business geniuses who never met a war crime that they wouldn't cash in on. Five-star hotels, luxury boutiques, Michelin stars restaurants, all more than happy to look past politics when a Russian credit card swipes through. Morality is so 2020, right? Meanwhile, Ukraine is bleeding. Soldiers are freezing in the mud, and European leaders are still scratching their heads, wondering, hey, why Russia isn't collapsing? Maybe because you're still letting them party like it's pre-2022. The Kennedy curse has taken many forms over the decades. Assassinations, plane crashes, scandals, but now, in a tragic twist of fate, it has produced something arguably just as concerning. A vocal advocate for Kremlin-aligned narratives. Enter Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a man whose famous name comes with some unexpected talking points. Kennedy Jr. now claims that the U.S. funded the 2024 Maidan protests to the tune of $5 billion, a number that has been a staple in Russian state media's messaging since Maidan first disrupted the Kremlin's plans. Interesting.
There are riots it's called the Maidan Rebellion in Ukraine, which we're not told that we are financing those riots. The newspapers never told us, our government never told us. USAID, which is a CIA front, put $5 billion into funding those riots. Those riots lead to a coup d'etat against the first democratically elected government of the Ukraine. It was a government that refused to choose sides and to say we're going to be on the side of the West. So we wanted them out. A month before that government is overthrown, Victoria Nuland, who's the part of the centerpiece of the neocon ideology and who is now a high-level official in the State Department, has a secret call with the U.S. ambassador, which is tape recorded and is now public, which anybody can go and look up, where she is picking the new cabinet for the Ukraine, which is which is a U.S. Western cabinet. So they're picking the new government a month before the old government is overthrown.
Is that how democracy? Is that democracy when Victoria Nuland picks her government?
Well, that's the point. Is USAID doesn't really do, and the CIA don't do democracy. The CIA has overthrown, I think, 83 governments between 1947 and 1997. That's a third of the governments on Earth, and most of them were democracies. Oh, it doesn't do.
And let's not forget one of his more startling claims, the idea that Ukraine hosts American biolabs collecting Russian and Chinese DNA. An allegation that echoes well-worn conspiracy theories about secret Pentagon projects. The notion that the US is engineering a super virus instead of addressing real-world security threats is certainly a bold one. The reality is, Kennedy Jr. is amplifying the same narratives that have been used time and again to sow doubt and confusion. Now, whether out of genuine belief or a desire to attract attention, he is echoing some of Kremlin's most persistent talking points. Now, perhaps a visit to Moscow is in order. After all, the Russian leadership has long appreciated Western figures willing to champion its preferred narratives. There might even be a dacha available, right next to Steven Seagal's. According to Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico, his people simply cannot be protesting against his pro-Kremlin groveling. No, this must be a nefarious Ukrainian conspiracy. Clearly, the only logical explanation for Slovakians opposing their own government is that Kyiv is orchestrating a secret coup. Yes, in Fico's delusional world, Ukraine, already busy fighting a full-scale war for survival, somehow found the time to mastermind a grand Slovakian revolution. Apparently, 160 people received a secret plan, because nothing says covert operation like mass emailing detailed instructions. Step 1. Peaceful protest. Step 2. Storming government buildings. Step 3. A magical call to the international community to, bring democracies to Slovakia? The horror.
Služby, ktoré profesionálne pracujú, v rámci zákonnej činnosti zistili, že existuje plán, konkrétny plán na organizovanie protestov na Slovensku. Protestujúci mali ísť a okupovať vládne budovy. To naozaj je plán, ktorý existuje a tento plán bol šírený. Prakticky okolo 160 ľudí na Slovensku tento plán dostalo. V tomto pláne bolo napísané, že sa bude ako keby akcelerovať tá činnosť, že najprv to bude nejaké stretnutie, potom budú okupovať vládne budovy, potom zastavia činnosť vlády, potom chcú pozvať medzinárodné spoločenstvo sem. Jasný plán, ako jednoducho urobiť na Slovensku neporiadok. A do toho sa nám tu pohybujú ľudia, ktorí sa kamarátia s organizátormi týchto protestov, ako je mier Ukrajine. Na Slovensku je suverénna vláda. A táto vláda má iný názor na vojnu na Ukrajine a niekomu to jednoducho vadí. Tak došiel pokyn, poďme túto vládu dať na kolená a poďme ju vymeniť. A ja som na to odpovedal, že Slovensko rozvracať nedovolíme a preto sme začali informovať slovenskú verejnosť. Šokujúce, že slovenské médiá namiesto toho, aby chránili Slovenskú republiku, tak chránia nejakého mierového aktivistu z Ukrajiny, ktorý má na sebe granáty a náboje.
But now let's be real, this isn't really about Slovakia's so-called sovereignty. This is about a Putin-worshipping politician desperately clinging to power while serving as Moscow's Trojan horse inside the EU and NATO. His job? Sow chaos, spread paranoia, and derail Western unity, all while pretending that he's defending Slovakia from imaginary enemies. And of course, Western enablers will look the other way. After all, what's another corrupt politician selling out his country to the Kremlin, as long as business deals keep flowing? Now, Fico is right about one thing. There is a plan to kneel before a foreign power, but it's not Ukraine trying to topple Slovakia's government. It's Fico kneeling before Putin. Viktor Orban, the world's most flexible politician, has mastered the fine art of survival. Kiss Trump's hand and Putin's boot and pretend to be a European leader. And somehow it works. But where does Orban see Hungary's true enemy? In Moscow? Beijing? No, in Brussels. Orban is now plotting a separate deal with Washington, because why bother with the EU when you can crawl straight to Trump's lap? After all, Hungary always knew that Donald would return, so they prepared accordingly, probably by brushing up on the fine art of dictatorship. And what a plan it is! As Trump dismantles international trade, cuts funding to Ukraine, and saves America from great menace of pronouns, Hungary will be right there, cheering for the fall of the West while enjoying its benefits. Of course, Orban has long been an expert in double dealing. He claims Ukraine can win and that the only solution is peace, which in Kremlin speak means surrendering to Russian occupation. The only thing missing from this performance is a direct line to Orwell's Eurasia, where despots pretend to be peacekeepers while selling their nation to the highest bidder. Now, Orban isn't building a stronger Hungary. He's carving out a little Moscow inside the EU. The only question is, who will he bow to next? And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.